Hello and welcome. We're here today to speak about Ipsos's new book, Misfits, How Creativity Can Spark Brand Growth. This book takes an interesting look at the combination of creativity and effectiveness, but it's underpinned by tangible cases and data that we've looked at Ipsos to basically make a case for creativity and how this connects to the advertising sector. I'm Sean Dix. I lead Creative Excellence at Ipsos as the global leader, and today I have with me the author, Adam Sheridan.
Thanks very much, Sean. I'm Adam Sheridan. I head up our products and analytics at Creative Excellence at Ipsos, and it's my pleasure to be here today to talk about Misfits.
So why Misfits is the title of this book?
Well, let's start with what Misfits aren't, which is, by the way, the dictionary definition. So from Oxford Languages, the definition includes the phrase, makes other people feel uncomfortable. And really, Misfits aren't about that. They're not about making people feel uncomfortable. They are curious people. They're people who actively try not to fit in to then deliver more value to their end audience when they're delivering their products and their services. And when we look at the data, when we look at the evidence, what we can see, a very clear component of creativity is that mindset of actively not wanting to fit in to get to more effective advertising. So that's why we have the title, is to make our readers remind themselves that they need that misfit mindset when they're approaching the use of creativity to get to more effective advertising.
Okay, so why did you decide to write Misfits, and what is it really about?
I started working on it in late 2019, so just before the pandemic, and it came out of a client conversation that I had, and the question from the client was, I think I know I need to use creativity in my advertising, but how can you help me make that case? And how can you define, from your data, from your knowledge, what creativity is? And to be perfectly honest, I gave an answer, but I quoted a few industry thought leaders, I gave my own opinion, but it wasn't a really satisfactory answer. It wasn't one that had substance attached to it. And so I left that client conversation, and in all honesty, I didn't think about much else for days. I just thought, how can I better answer that question? So I looked at books that have been written on this topic before by industry thought leaders, very respected people, advertising professionals, and they have fantastic opinions. We need to respect them, we need to look to them. But I still didn't feel like I had my version of the answer. I didn't feel like we had the Ipsos answer, which should really be from a foundation of data and observation to help people better make that case for creativity. So that's why I started writing it. And we find ourselves here today with, I think, that evidence and that viewpoint to better make that case for creativity.
Adam, you make a case in the book that creativity has a challenge, or let me rephrase that, has a problem. Interesting. Why do you say that? Why do you think creativity has a problem?
Well, let's maybe start with what the problem is not, or what we don't think the problem is, which when we look at Ipsos data, which is based on a very broad spectrum of advertising, it's very generalizable in nature, we don't see a, let's say, decline in creativity over time. We don't see that things are getting worse. What we see as a problem is actually something more static, and it's really rooted in human nature. If you think about it, we're all people. People that make advertising are people, and as people, we are pre-wired to favour the safe and familiar. The safe choice will often feel like the best one, but it more often than not, certainly in advertising terms, based on what we've observed, is not the best one. So I think that's the first problem with creativity, is human nature itself. And how do we overcome that inclination to favour the safe and familiar? The second problem is that we don't actually have a shared language and vernacular as to what creativity is. So there are lots of opinions in the advertising industry, and we absolutely need to respect them as opinions from thought leaders. However, there's not a lot of consensus or a shared language. And if there isn't a shared language, how can we hope to actually use creativity if we don't actually agree on what it is and have that shared language? And finally, there is evidence already in the industry that creativity does matter to effectiveness, but it tends to be based on meta-analysis of creative awards, so entrants versus winners. And that's a fantastic reference point to have. Award ceremonies are a great forum for recognition for truly great and effective work, no doubt there. But it is limited. It's a fairly narrow field of vision. If we think about an entrant, for example, that entrant probably will have had a lot of resources, time and energy put into it with creativity in mind. And then we're comparing that entrant to the winner. So there's an opportunity, I think, to build on that evidence with more generalizable data, with good advertising, average advertising, and not so good advertising, to really make an even stronger case for creativity to get to advertising effectiveness.